It's Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017. Our panelists today, Jonathan Breckenridge, an aerospace engineer and real estate agent, James Lomax. You're watching Yellowhammer TV Live. I'm Dale Jackson. Welcome back to Yellowhammer TV Live. I was out yesterday, but James Lomax did an okay job filling in for me, so we allowed him to come back and be a panelist today. Thank you very much, James, for that. We've got a lot to talk about today. The Trump administration still can't tell the truth. We'll also be talking a little bit about health care in Alabama. And yeah, Jeff Sessions still in the news as well. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get to the headlines. You would think we would be done with Obamacare after watching another Republican defeat, but apparently that is not the case. The President of the United States has told his chief budget guy to tell the folks in the Senate that he wants another vote on health care. Senators like John Cornyn have responded and saying that guy isn't in the Senate, doesn't understand how it works, and the vote would be absolutely no different. As that has happened, we're also learning in the state of Alabama, where we had the third lowest health care costs in the nation, Blue Cross and Blue Shield is seeking a 15% increase in their costs. Now, the notion here should be that this health care debate is not over in the Senate, or is it? James, is this thing over? The president wants another vote. We're watching increases happening all over the place still. It's still going to remain an issue. Is the issue over, or will there be more votes in the Senate?
I don't think it's over. I think that the Republicans are going to have to try to find something that they can get some traction on. I know that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have said that some of the Republicans have even been calling them and meeting with them and trying to see how they can come across the aisle and maybe figure out some sort of this issue that maybe both parties can agree on. Maybe we can actually have a law that's going to make sense. It's obvious that Obamacare has hurt the people, especially here in the state of Alabama, where many people can't necessarily afford these increases. Now, there were increases in health care costs before Obamacare. I mean, that will never change. There was always going to be some yearly increases. But 15%, 36%, as we've seen in previous years, it shows that there's a very flawed law on Obamacare.
Some places 233%, things of that nature, just completely absurd. Jonathan, we're hearing words like bipartisanship. Democrats have been celebrating that they stopped Republicans from changing the law. Now they're saying, well, we've got to have a conversation about it. But there are two different worlds. A majority of Democrats want something like a single-payer system where the government picks up most of the freight. Republicans want a more of a free market system. Who's going to budge? Anybody? Is there a bipartisan solution anywhere in the making here?
I don't see a bipartisan solution happening anytime soon. I do see that the president doesn't like to lose. He doesn't do it often, at least from his perspective. So I think he's going to go forward and push for some kind of a solution where the Democrats are going to come across. That's going to probably turn off more Republicans than it's going to turn on Democrats. Yeah,
I don't understand what the law looks like, James, that can get bipartisan approval. What does it look like? Because they seem like they're so far away, and everything that you might change to pick up somebody else is going to cost you another vote. So for every Democrat you pick up, and they've made it clear that they're not going after Obamacare at all because their people love the name and love the idea that the government's involved in health care. And hell, they might love the fact that it's destroying the health care system and it'll lead to single payer. There's no path. Is there a path here? I know people want it. And like Jonathan said, Trump wants a victory. Is there a path to victory here?
Well, listen, there are some people on the far, far left that you're not going to bring into your camp no matter what you do. There's some people on the far, far right you're not going to bring in either. I mean, there's people on the far right that don't want to see even the people that are currently on Obamacare currently need government assistance to be able to have that option in any way, and they would be left behind. So I think there is a place, though, that there is some people in the middle that may be willing to come together and check out and see what they can do. I think everyone understands that Obamacare has been a failure, even the Democrats. A lot of them are coming around to that fact. And they realize there needs to be some sort of replacement. Maybe this is something where both parties can get a victory. Yes, it may have happened under a Trump presidency if it does happen, but it's something that the Democrats can say, hey, they had to come to us to get approval, so that's a victory for them as well.
You know, it's funny, all polling, I believe, I mean, the wall, everything Trump supports is doing terrible in the polling just because Trump's connected to it. And I think the Democrats, and Jonathan, I want to just get your thoughts on this before we change subjects here. I think the Democrats are emboldened to just oppose everything he does because the hook here is he's illegitimate, Russia, and all this other stuff. So will they come along to anything? I mean, if he approves it, do they automatically come out against it and nothing ever happened?
They certainly don't need to. I mean, everything that I've seen so far shows that the Democrats don't need to do anything. They feel that they can wait out 4 years worth of Trump and try again on the next election.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the state of Alabama. A little bit of abortion talk. Nobody likes talking about this, but sometimes we have to. We have a law in Alabama that says that if you're a minor and you're going to have an abortion, you are going to have to go through parental notification, which I think most people would think, yeah, okay, if my kid is 14, 15, 16, you're going to have an abortion. I'd like to know about it. In Alabama, we have a system, though, in place where a person can challenge to a court if the person is a minor and there's a family member involved. Recently, the ACLU made the argument that Alabama's law failed to meet a standard that all other states meet, so a judge basically threw this thing out and said that our system is flawed and they need to change it. This is an activist judge. I mean, I'm going to put it as simply as I can. I'm not somebody who's going to stand out there and picket abortion clinics, but an idea that an activist judge would come out and say, hey, the system you have to check on parental notification, and again, we're talking about in cases of familial incest and things like that. That's what this case was. That's why you would go to a judge and say, forget it, I don't need parental notification. Is this just an activist judge, or is this a bigger thing, James? Is this a bigger issue?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think here in the state of Alabama, like you said, we don't like talking about abortion, but we've been talking about it for quite a long time, and it seems like we can never come to any kind of resolution. And obviously it's an important issue, but you know, the courts have decided what abortion is, and I feel like the state of Alabama, this is obviously a little bit of an older law, but we've always tried to pass laws that kind of skirt around it and make that ruling a little bit more difficult to swallow. And I think that obviously we need to focus on some other issues. Now, this judge has obviously had a nail to grind and did do that, but I think we can move on from that and figure out a way to focus on some other issues.
I think the bigger question here to me, Jonathan, is does Alabama have the right to do anything in these instances? Can they say, hey, look, abortion's legal, but we should be able to have our own rules with this, and the federal government basically walks in every time and goes, you can't do that, you can't do that. But the people in Alabama, as James said, we talk about this all the time, the voters reward politicians who pass laws like this, so I don't see any end to this. Do you?
I don't see any end to it. Just to point out that the laws that are passed are based on the Planned Parenthood versus Casey Supreme Court case from '92. That case allowed for states to pass laws restricting abortions. It was a restriction on the Roe v. Wade from previously. Right. So that's where all of these laws come from. The only problem is that in that case, the Supreme Court stated that you cannot put an undue burden on the woman having the child. And in this particular instance, this particular law, in my opinion, I don't know if it was that activist. I think the judge was genuinely reducing an undue burden.
We'll see this go to the next step. We've got a different Supreme Court than we've had in a while, and we'll see how they handle this and handle laws of this nature. Moving on, the AEA versus, well, pretty much everybody. This is how this thing has gone down over the last couple of years. If you've been following Alabama politics, you would see the AEA as either a boogeyman who wants to destroy everything or the virtuous people fighting for the status quo. James, in Mobile, this is a weird situation, but in Mobile, the school system said the AEA could not even come into the school system orientation because they didn't want them messing with the teachers. And the AEA has come in and basically, the Republicans over the last couple of years have destroyed the AEA. Their fundraising ability, their political arm, they have wiped them off the map. And now it appears that school systems aren't afraid of them either. And now they're willing to keep them out. What has to happen to join the AEA now for new teachers is you have to opt into the system. There's no more opting out. There's none of this other stuff. You have to actively opt in. Mobile said, nope, we're not having them in anymore. Is this part of the continuation of the war on the AEA? And does this show how weak they are, an organization that ran the state not 10 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Mobile. It's a great city. The school system there is working their way back into legitimacy after kind of having a downfall in the 90s. But the AEA has been completely destroyed as far as any kind of political grab. And they were getting out of their comfort zone when they were trying to rise to power. I mean, at its core, AEA is an okay organization. Their goals are okay. They want to help the teachers. They're a trade organization. There's tons of them. They're okay, but they are done with politics. So I don't understand this, let's point the gun at the AEA all of a sudden now that they're done with politics, if that makes any sense.
I think it's to kill them. I mean, if they're down, now we're going to point the gun at them. Republican State Senator Phil Williams said the following. He said, Republicans in Alabama have ensured that we are now a 100% right-to-work state. Regardless of whether or not the AEA considers themselves to be a union, it's always acted as one. They should get over the idea that they're entitled to have unfettered access to all of our wonderful public school teachers, and I'm glad to hear they're now having to work for it. Now, and really this was the plan by Republicans. I mean, live by the sword, die by the sword. And the AEA is now dying by the sword. Does the AEA have an argument saying they deserve access to these folks? I mean, or is the school system right to say, look, you're done? And I guess the other question is this. Now will these other school systems feel emboldened now that the statewide Republicans have wiped them out?
So I think that the other school districts should feel emboldened. And I think the AEA is a union because it acts like a union. And I just have to say, Paul Hubbard's rolling in his grave right now. I mean, it only took 5 years to completely obliterate the AEA.
That guy was the most powerful guy in the state.
Absolutely.
And now you couldn't even, James, real quick, who's the head of the AEA right now? Any idea?
No, I'm not sure.
Jonathan, any clue? I mean,
he was sitting in
my cupboard,
state legislator, thumbs up and thumbs down bills.
You're right. And again, the reason I bring this story up is, and Yellowhammer News had that logo up there where it's
fantastic logo.
The Death Star, it looked great because that's really who they were. They had they had the ability to operate that way, and I guess that's the Death Star blowing up. So that's the end of it, James.
And that's gone now, and I think they need to be treated instead of, like Jonathan said, instead of a union, they're a trade organization. Just like me, I'm a commercial real estate broker. If I wanted to join the commercial real estate trade organization, I don't automatically become that when I
it's not a condition of your employment.
It's not, and I think it's something I have to seek out and go join. And I think if teachers want to be a part of that, great. If they don't, that's fine.
And that's the whole point behind the right to work state, and it's a major contributor, in my opinion, to why the state of Alabama is doing so well on economic development.
Look, let's talk about that for a second. I think, honestly, the fight with the AEA that statewide Republicans have taken over the last 7, 8, 10 years, I honestly believe that helps the state out on a lot of different levels because they weaken the biggest power player, the biggest union here. It says to other unions you can't make that play. James, you see a lot of economic development. Am I reading too much into it?
I think a little bit just because they are teachers. It'd be one thing if this was a mine worker operative or something, but it's good to see that their union abilities are being diminished.
Okay, well, let's move on. You thought you'd get away with not talking about Jeff Sessions for a day. No, not going to happen. He's still in his job. They're talking about moving him to the Department of the Homeland Security, a whole bunch of other things being discussed. But here's what is happening. Jeff Sessions continues to chug along as probably, and I said this the other day on Facebook, as the Trump administration's MVP. This is the guy who's actually getting things done. When it comes to illegal immigration, when it comes to all these other issues, Jeff Sessions is the guy going out and getting things done. Real quick, Is Jeff Sessions the Trump administration MVP, James, right now?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. He is the one guy that can actually deal with people. He understands what he's doing. He's not embarrassing himself. You know, even when Trump was coming after Attorney General Sessions very hard, Sessions kind of kept a level head. He remained low. He never shot back any kind of rude things because he really wants to go to work. He believes in what he's doing, I think, and I think that's why the people of Alabama have loved him for so long, and now the nation's getting to experience some of that. But it says something that even after everything Trump attacked him with, that Attorney General Sessions has now turned around and is protecting his administration.
Well, and he's protecting it. And the things that Trump talks about, and we've talked about this last week, but some of the things Trump talked about on the stage at some of these rallies are things Jeff Sessions doing. Rounding up MS-13, lowering illegal immigration, fighting sanctuary cities. Now we're talking about all these grants. The Sessions said yesterday that the top 4 grant getters, New York, Cook County, Illinois, where Chicago is, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, all of them will be ineligible for Department of Justice grants because of their sanctuary city stuff. And on top of that, he's going after leakers as well. I mean, these are the things that Donald Trump should be out there praising Jeff Sessions for. He should be wrapping his arm around him. Are we surprised that Trump is not necessarily bashing Sessions anymore because that was like a week ago, so 1,000 things have happened since then? But are we surprised that Trump has not re-embraced Jeff Sessions now that he's got all this other stuff happening and Sessions just keeps grinding along?
Trump needs to. I mean, once again, Sessions comes to the rescue, right? The only person with any wins in this administration, as far as I can see, is Jeff Sessions. Trump doesn't have any wins so far on his platform. The only person that does is Sessions. Sessions is running Trump's platform at this point. And really what that says to me is that all of these strange attacks on Brooks are starting to turn into positives.
Okay, so now you want to take it back to the state of Alabama. I was going to bring this up. We saw a little bit of a turn in the tide. There's been some stories that have been written, James, talking about how there were people who like Trump, but they don't like how he's been treating Sessions. And we're not talking about, just like on the national stage, we're starting to see some senators turn on Trump, Jeff Flake, Lindsey Graham, etc. In Alabama, they were quoting people, the chairman of the Alabama Republican Party, the Pike County, just actual Republican office holders who, I don't know, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, would have been afraid to come out and say things about Trump. Now they are saying, I'm not happy how this is happening. Does that surprise you?
I don't think so. I think mainly, especially from those that are in politics, the county chairs, things like you just referenced. I do think that the general public, though, the general Alabama voter, is not going to turn the tide on any allegiances to Donald Trump. They love the president. I don't think that'll play in the Senate race at all as far as the Jeff Sessions versus Donald Trump argument.
Okay, so you're not seeing it. Well, I'll tell you, I think those ads work. The ads where it's, Mo Brooks doesn't love Trump enough, I think those ads are effective, and I think the Brooks people would probably tell you they're effective as well. When we come back, we'll continue talking about the Trump administration lying. Sorry, dropped my pen there for a second. They lie all the time, and it's starting to impact their credibility. We'll talk more about that. Stay tuned. It's Yellowhammer TV Live. Welcome back to Yellowhammer TV Live. We're going to talk about the Trump administration and their credibility. Now, much to my chagrin and most people watching this, Donald Trump has an honesty problem. His administration has an honesty problem. And I wrote down some of the things he's lied about recently. Don Sr. helped Don Jr. write his response to the Russia meeting. They've lied on forms. We talk about crowd size, 400-pound people being hackers. We can continue talking about these things. The latest, the Boy Scout situation. He goes and speaks to the Boy Scouts, gives a political speech. He says, the Boy Scouts have said it was amazing. The Boy Scouts said, we never contacted you and said anything. So credibility. I mean, at some point in time, something is going to happen that is going to require people trust the President of the United States. Now, the media loves this story, and they love hearing these things because it diminishes his credibility. It hurts the Republican Party. This is their game. Is there a major credibility problem here, James? I mean, at some point in time, the Republicans are going to have to be like, come on, guys, you've got to at least tell the truth. You can't BS 24/7 because it just destroys your credibility. Is there a big credibility problem here?
Yeah, I think once he gets caught in a lie that actually can impact the American people in a very negative way, I think that's when there's going to be a huge problem. And that could be coming at any time now because he may accidentally lie about something that's a very, very big deal. It seems like most things he lies about currently, and they are lies, they're bull-faced lies. I think most of them right now are things that when he was seen in a negative light, he feels he has to defend himself, and one of the ways he does that is he lies about it. That's a huge issue. I think that you need to have a precedent that understands that it's okay to be criticized because you will be each and every day. And it's ironic that it comes from a president that criticizes other people each and every other day.
You know, it's funny, this story that's out now about Fox News and Seth Rich and whether the Trump administration was involved. It sounds fantastical. I mean, it really does that the president was reading a story before Fox News was on, and it's all out of a lawsuit. And you can sue over anything. You know, it doesn't really matter. You can sue over anything. You can say anything. But the media so wants this to be real, and because Donald Trump lies about everything, when he comes out, Jonathan, and says, or not him, but his administration lies as well, when they come out and they say, well, we have nothing to do with this, we all sit back and go, are you lying again? I mean, essentially, because everything shifts. So it doesn't seem as if anyone's actually telling the truth. I mean, that's what people take away from this, right?
Yeah, the fact that he's, and I agree with James, the fact that he's lying as much as he is, there's no way to know what the truth really is. So, you know, and what James was saying with regard to important things, this whole North Korea stuff, there's people that have come out that have said that Trump has told them that he's ready to preemptively attack North Korea. And if that's not a true statement, that's a problem. That's a major issue as far as coming from the administration.
So the things that he's lied about so far, I mean, we look at them all, like I said, crowd size and things of that nature. Not really that big of a deal, but it just shows a willingness to generally lie about everything.
And another thing, that willingness to lie about those small details, that permeates down through his administration.
Especially easily disproven things. I mean, the lies about things that are obvious. We all saw the crowds. I mean, I hate to go back to this, but he was so fixated on this early on. We all saw the crowds, and he sent people out there to lie, and they did it. And you know, and I hate to act like that's a big deal, but I mean, it matters, right?
And it's especially not good because he ran to the American people. He said that you're going to be able to trust America again, and he basically discredited Hillary Clinton as a complete liar, his opponent.
Because she was.
And she was.
Yeah.
And, you know, he needs to look at himself in the mirror in this case, even during the primary. And I think, Jonathan, you can attribute this. You know, he called other candidates liars. He called Marco Rubio a liar. He called Ted Cruz a liar. He called other Republicans a liar. Look in the mirror, Don, you know, as they would say in the campaign. But there is things that you just don't need to lie about. And policy issues are definitely one of them, but anything is no excuse.
Anytime an administration lies, it makes you question everything. Now they've got a new guy in there, a new chief of staff. You've watched it as there's been so much turnover in the administration. And then he comes out and says, oh, great day at the White House. He just tweets it out, and sorry, that's a lie. When you're firing guys every single day who are close to you, it's a lie. Jonathan, why would anybody trust them? I mean, at this point, that's a question I ask. Well, why would anyone trust them on issues? Because they don't seem trustworthy.
So I think that part of the reason that his supporters continue to trust him is they feel that his lies are nothing compared to what the, quote, mainstream media lies are. And for whatever reason, him and his campaign has his supporters completely convinced that no matter what I say, it's not as bad as what they're saying.
Could have been Hillary.
Exactly.
I mean, is that basically it?
Yeah.
It could have been Hillary, and she lies all the time. Okay. All right. There you go. Okay. I don't get it. They got to stop lying. Tell the truth, and things will work out for you. But if you continue lying, you continue looking guilty. And this Russia stuff is just a perfect example of how lies have drugged this thing out. even further. Let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll talk about what's important to us. Stay tuned. You're watching Yellowhammer TV live. All right, let's wrap up Yellowhammer TV Live today. We'll talk about what the biggest story of the day is. Jonathan, you're up first. What's the biggest story of the day for you?
So the biggest story for me today is that there's a Silicon Valley startup that's using microphones to detect problems with cars, but it turns out that those microphones can also listen to you type. And within 30 minutes of listening to you type, it can recreate 90% of what you typed.
Oh, that's lovely. Good to hear. James, what's the biggest story of the day for you?
Yeah, the Business Facilities Magazine got some good news for the state of Alabama. Mobile was ranked number 2 in economic growth potential. Huntsville was ranked number 1 in aerospace metro area. Where's Birmingham and Montgomery on this list? We need to kick it up a little bit here in the state of Alabama.
All right, the biggest story for me today, show that photo real quick. Look at this thing. I don't know if you make out that license plate. First it says heritage, not hate, Confederate flag across the back. The license plate says FK y'all. Now, I don't know if you can figure out what that means, but the beauty of this is the state of Alabama is now attempting to take this guy's license plate away. And the other beautiful thing, if you continue to look at that photo or go look at it again, on the bottom it says he's proud of his Eagle Scout. So things are going great for that guy. We'll be back tomorrow on Yellowhammer TV Live.